It was a quiet evening at Riverwalk Mall. The lights inside the stores sparkled. Families laughed, couples walked hand in hand, and soft music played in the background. People were enjoying their time, shopping and eating. Among them was a man named David. David was tall, calm, and quiet. He wore a plain black hoodie, faded jeans, and carried a small backpack on his shoulder. He looked like any regular man. Nothing special, nothing flashy. But David wasn't just any regular man. He had walked into the mall with one purpose: to buy a gift for his niece's birthday. She loved books and music. He wanted to find something meaningful, something special for her. So he entered a bookstore near the center of the mall and started browsing. He didn't rush. He walked slowly. He touched the books carefully. His eyes scanned the shelves, and a small smile appeared on his face when he found a piano music book with bright notes on the cover. But not far away, someone else was watching him. The store manager, a man named Carl, stood behind the counter. He was in his 40s, wore a sharp suit, and liked to feel in control. He noticed David the moment he entered the store. Carl's eyes narrowed. David didn't look like the usual customers. He wasn't wearing expensive clothes, he didn't talk much. He looked too simple for Carl's taste. And worst of all, David had a backpack. That made Carl uncomfortable. Probably just here to steal, Carl muttered to himself. He picked up his phone and quietly dialed security. "Yeah, I think we've got a suspicious guy here, might be up to something. Better send someone," he whispered. David, completely unaware, continued looking through the books. He pulled out his phone to check a list of titles his niece had mentioned. He matched one, smiled, and placed the book in his basket. Back at the front desk, Carl watched closely. Every move David made seemed suspicious in his mind, even though David wasn't doing anything wrong. A few minutes later, 2 mall security guards appeared near the entrance. Carl gave them a small nod and pointed at David. "There he is," he said in a low voice. "Keep an eye on him." David finished picking the book and started walking toward the checkout counter. He stood in line behind a mother and her son, waiting patiently. He didn't know 2 pairs of eyes were fixed on him, following his every step. Suddenly, one of the guards stepped forward. "Excuse me, sir," the guard said, his voice sharp. "We need to talk to you." David turned, surprised. "Talk to me? Why? Did I do something wrong?" The second guard stepped closer. "Just follow us, please. Don't make a scene." People started turning around. The mother in front looked nervous. The little boy stared at David. David was confused but calm. "I just came here to buy a gift. What's the problem?" Carl walked over, arms crossed. "He's acting strange," he told the guards. "Might be stealing something. Better check him." David looked at all of them, still trying to understand. "You think I'm stealing? Empty your pockets," one guard ordered. "Take off your backpack." David slowly set his basket down and opened his bag. Inside were his wallet, a water bottle, a phone charger, and a folded jacket. Nothing else. Still, the guards looked angry. "We need to search you further," they said. One of them grabbed David's arm. "Wait," David said calmly. "You're making a mistake." "Then prove you're not lying," Carl said with a smirk. "Show us your ID." David sighed. He slowly reached into his wallet and pulled out a card. But before he handed it over, he looked the guard in the eye. "You should look closely at this," he said in a steady voice. The guard rolled his eyes and grabbed the ID. He looked at it, then stopped. His face changed. The second guard leaned over to look too. His eyes widened. Carl stepped closer, trying to see the card, but the guard quickly pulled it back and stared at David again, now with fear and shock in his eyes. The moment turned silent. David crossed his arms and waited. Something had changed, and no one around him yet knew just how big that change was. The 2 security guards stood frozen. They looked at David's ID again, just to be sure. The first guard blinked twice. The second one whispered under his breath, "Is this real?" "Carl." The store manager walked closer, annoyed. "Well, what's his name? Is he wanted or something?" The guard looked up slowly. His voice wasn't loud anymore. "Sir, this man is David Carter." Carl frowned. "And? So what?" The second guard whispered, David Carter, CEO of Carter Tech. Carl laughed. No way. That company is worth billions. Their CEO wouldn't dress like this. He wouldn't shop here alone. You must be joking. But the guards weren't laughing. Everyone in the store was watching now. The whisper started. Carter Tech? That's a huge tech company. Wait, is that really him? Why are the guards still holding him? David stayed calm. He looked at Carl. You judged me the moment I walked in. Without asking who I was. Without giving me a chance. Carl tried to hide his shock. I didn't know. That's the problem, David interrupted. You didn't care to know. The first guard quickly handed back the ID. We're so sorry, Mr. Carter. We didn't mean. Yes, you did, David said, his voice firm now. You meant everything you did. You judged me because of how I looked, because I didn't wear a suit or flashy watch. Carl stepped forward, trying to fix things. Sir, please understand. We have to protect the store. We can't take risks. You were acting, quiet. It looked suspicious. David raised an eyebrow. So being quiet is suspicious now? Carl stammered. I didn't mean that. David didn't shout. He didn't get angry. But his eyes were sharp and his voice carried weight. I built my company from the ground up, he said. I've worked with presidents, inventors, and leaders. And yet, I walk into your store and you hand me a janitor's uniform in your mind before I even speak. Carl looked down, silent now. The security guard stepped away from David, embarrassed. Customers in the store looked awkward. Some people were recording on their phones now. David looked around, then slowly picked up the music book he had dropped. Earlier, he placed it back in the basket. Then he turned to Carl one last time. You didn't just insult a customer today. You insulted every person who doesn't look rich but has value. Carl opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. David walked to the counter and calmly paid for his book. Before he left, he turned back one more time. Don't worry. You'll hear from me soon. Then he walked out of the store. Everyone stared in silence. What did he mean? What would happen next? No one knew, but one thing was sure. This story was far from over. The store was quiet after David left. Carl stood still, staring at the door. His heart pounded in his chest. Did I really just insult a billionaire? He thought. His hands were shaking now. The two security guards looked at each other nervously. Maybe he was just pretending, Carl tried to tell himself. Maybe it wasn't really him. But then his phone buzzed. A message from the head office. Did Mr. Carter visit your store today? Carl's eyes widened. Oh no, he quickly replied. Yes, but I didn't know it was him. It was a misunderstanding. The reply came fast. Mr. Carter just called our company's CEO. Carl felt like he couldn't breathe. The actual CEO? That means it was really him. Word was already spreading online. A video of the incident was going viral. The ASA title read, Billionaire CEO gets treated like a thief. Watch what happens. Comments poured in. This is why you treat everyone with respect. That manager should be fired. This is why we love David Carter, so humble. Carl's phone rang again. It was the head office. He hesitated, then picked up. Carl, what did you do? His boss shouted. You insulted the most important man we've ever had walk into one of our stores. I didn't know, Carl said. He looked so normal. Exactly, his boss said. And now the internet knows how badly we treated him. The company is being attacked online. Do you realize the damage? Carl went silent. That night, Carl didn't sleep. The next morning, news channels were talking about it. Reporters stood outside the store. Customers came in just to see the place where it happened. Inside, Carl sat in his office, pale and sweating. Every time the door opened, he jumped. Then around noon, David returned. He walked in calmly, wearing the same simple clothes. This time, everyone recognized him. The customers moved aside. The staff stood straight. The store went silent. Carl came out quickly. Mr. Carter, please, I want to apologize. David raised his hand. Not here, in front of everyone. Carl swallowed hard. He turned to face the crowd. "I made a mistake," he said. "I judged someone without knowing who they were. I'm sorry, Mr. Carter, and I'm sorry to all our customers." David looked at him. "Thank you, but an apology isn't enough." Carl froze. "What do you mean?" David turned to the crowd. "People like him need to learn that respect is for everyone, not just the rich, not just the famous." Then he looked Carl in the eyes. "I'm not just a CEO," David said. "I'm also your new landlord." Carl blinked. "Wait, what?" David smiled. "I bought this building this morning. You work for me now." Carl's face turned white. The crowd gasped. What would David do next? Fire him? Forgive him? Everyone held their breath. The real decision was coming. Everyone inside the store froze. Carl's mouth hung open. You own the building now?" he asked, his voice shaking. David nodded slowly. "That's right. I bought it this morning." People whispered all around them. Phones were out. Cameras. "We're recording." Carl looked like he was about to faint. David stepped forward, calm but serious. "Carl, let me ask you something," he said. "If I had walked in here wearing a suit and a gold watch, would you have treated me the same way?" Carl didn't answer. David repeated, "Would you?" Carl finally muttered, "No, probably not." David looked around the store. "That's the problem. Too many people judge by what they see. They think poor clothes mean a poor man, or that skin color means something, or that quiet people can't be powerful." The silence in the store was heavy. Carl stammered, "I swear I didn't mean to. You assumed I was a janitor." David cut in, "And then you handed me a mop." Carl's eyes dropped to the floor. "I'm sorry, I truly am." David turned to the security guards. "And what about you two? Did you think before dragging me out?" The guards looked embarrassed. One of them said, "We just followed orders, sir." David nodded. "Then you should remember, following bad orders makes you part of the problem." He stepped back and looked at the entire store. "I didn't come here for revenge," he said. "I came here to teach a lesson." Everyone listened. "I've worked too hard to let disrespect go unchecked," David continued. "I grew up with nothing. People used to laugh at my dreams. I know what it feels like to be treated like I don't belong." He paused. "But now, I do belong. And I'm using my place to speak for those who don't have a voice." Someone in the crowd started clapping. Then another. Soon the whole store was filled with applause. David raised a hand and the store quieted. He turned back to Carl. "You're lucky I believe in second chances." Carl's eyes widened. "You're not firing me?" David shook his head. "Not today, but consider this your final warning. You will treat every customer with respect, no matter what they wear, no matter what they look like." Carl nodded quickly. "I understand. I promise." David turned to leave. Just before he stepped out the door, he stopped and said one last thing. "Next time, don't wait to learn someone's name before you treat them like a human being." Then he walked away. But the story wasn't over yet. What happened after this shook the entire company and made headlines around the world. By the next morning, David's story was everywhere. Someone had uploaded the video of him in the store. The clip showed the manager handing him a mop. Then it showed David calmly explaining who he was. People couldn't believe it. The title of the video read, "Black CEO handed mop in luxury store, then fires everyone." Millions clicked. Comments poured in. Respect to this man. He didn't scream or shout, he taught them with class. This is exactly what people need to see. News channels picked it up. Social media exploded. David's name started trending around the world. But back at the store, things were changing fast. Carl, the store manager, sat alone in his office. He looked pale, tired, and scared. His phone kept ringing, but he didn't answer. His name was now attached to the most embarrassing video of the year. The company's regional director, Ms. Jenkins, arrived later that morning. She walked straight into Carl's office and placed a printed report on his desk. "This is a disaster," she said coldly. Carl stammered, I didn't know who he was. He looked." She raised a hand to stop him. "Exactly. You didn't know. And still, you judged him." Carl lowered his head. What's going to happen now? Ms. Jenkins sighed. David Carter didn't fire you yesterday, but the company has received thousands of complaints. People are threatening to boycott. Sponsors are backing out. Carl swallowed hard. Corporate. We'll decide your future, Ms. Jenkins added, but I wouldn't be surprised if your days here are over. Meanwhile, David was sitting in his office, calm and focused. His assistant entered with a file. Sir, you've received over 2,500 business requests in one day, she said. People want to work with you after seeing the video. David nodded. That's good, but let's not get carried away. This isn't just about me. It's about the message. He turned to his team. We have a chance now, he said. Oh, chance to show the world that respect, kindness, and fairness still matter. Let's use this attention to do something real. One team member asked, What do you want to do first? David smiled. Let's create a new program to train workers in how to treat customers. We'll call it The Human Way, and we'll offer it free to every business in the city. The room filled with applause, but David wasn't done. He looked out his office window, deep in thought. They thought I was just another poor man, he said softly. But now, they'll remember me as someone who made a difference. And just when things started to settle, something else happened that no one expected. Something that changed David's life forever. A week after the incident, David received a letter at his office. But it wasn't an ordinary letter. It had a gold seal on the envelope and came straight from the mayor's office. His assistant handed it to him with wide eyes. Sir, this is from City Hall. David opened it slowly. Inside was an invitation. You are invited to City Hall to receive a special award for leadership, dignity, and your powerful example to our city. Below that, a note was handwritten by the mayor herself. You reminded us all of what grace under pressure looks like. David smiled softly. He didn't do it for awards, but being recognized for something good, that meant something. The day of the award ceremony came. David arrived wearing a sharp black suit and a calm expression. Cameras flashed. Reporters called his name. The crowd at City Hall gave him a standing ovation as he stepped onto the stage. The mayor shook his hand. Ladies and gentlemen, she said to the crowd, this man was judged wrongly, treated unfairly, and still responded with class. Today we honor David Carter not just for his success, but for his strength of character. David stepped up to the microphone. The room went silent. He looked across the crowd and said, Many people have asked me how I stayed calm that day. The truth is I've faced worse. I've been judged before. But I've learned that your value doesn't come from what people see. It comes from who you are. The crowd applauded again. But I'm not here for praise, he continued. I'm here because I want change. I want store owners, employees, and even strangers on the street to stop judging others by their skin, their clothes, or their silence. I want us to start seeing each other as people. After the ceremony, David was approached by a group of young business students. One of them nervously asked, Sir, can we intern at your company? David smiled. Only if you're ready to treat the janitor and the CEO exactly the same. They all nodded. Back at the luxury store, things had changed too. The company had replaced Carl with a new manager, someone trained in diversity and customer respect. The staff now greeted everyone kindly, no matter how they looked. Outside the store, a giant poster now hung in the window. It showed David Carter's face smiling confidently. Under it, big bold words read, Never judge a book by its cover. And below that, inspired by true events. People walking by stopped to read. Some smiled, some reflected. One woman whispered to her son, See him? That's what a real hero looks like. David didn't just change one store, he changed the conversation.